But come on, none of you really believed Chris d'Entremont's story about being threatened and intimidated by my whip and my House Leader.
Oh man, today is a good one. It is unreal to me how much conservatives are standing up right now. I don't know that you can put the genie back in the bottle because something has shifted big time. Poilievre showed up to an event that nobody expected him at to absolutely roast everyone who has been talking smack about him to their faces. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, and comment your thoughts down below. Share this video as well. Danielle Smith had a busy weekend, and did she ever drop the hammer on all of the BS that Ottawa tries to force upon us? And even the CBC had to admit that Carney's not really doing that great of a job, because this is what happens when ideology hits reality at full speed.
Now, clearly, we Conservatives do need to be a lot more pleasant. And I hear these reports about people kicking in doors, calling each other snakes, yelling, and I thought, who leaked this morning's staff meeting? But come on, none of you really believed Chris d'Entremont's story about being threatened and intimidated by my whip and my House Leader. Have any of you actually seen my whip and my House Leader? Andrew Scheer has not intimidated anyone in the history of man. And Chris Workington, well, he is so skinny, he's like the poster child for long-term Ozempic abuse. But the whole thing has us all thinking about caucus management. I think that Stephen Guilbeault would actually agree that this is very important. I hear that the NDP actually rejected having Guilbeault join their caucus. What an ego blow. Come on, Don. Is Don Davies here tonight? Don, come on, man. Beggars can't be choosers. And surely Stephen Guilbeault's brand of crazy would fit in right between the delegation of furries and the Queers for Palestine.
I can't tell you how many times my jaw hit the floor during his speech. It was quite long, broken up between English and French, and we will play a little bit more of it for you here. Pierre Poilievre traditionally does not attend these events, and it seems as though by the reaction to everybody, they were really shocked that he was there.
That's right. Long live the CBC. Long live the CBC.
And the moral superiority grandstanding of the far left activist class in Canada has really been something. If you go on social media and check out some of the reposts and the comments about Pierre Poilievre's speech, I will be clear as well, though, that every leader, like Elizabeth May got up on stage, so did Don Davies, so did Mark Carney. I don't have the video footage of their speeches. I'm hoping that they end up releasing them. As it stands right now, I wasn't able to find anything, though. But my word, I just cannot with how unhinged, how hypocritical, how out of touch some of these responses are. Rachel Gilmore says, this is in response to Pierre Poilievre and the biting the apple skit. That was funny. Objectively, everybody laughed, right? She says, this would be a lot funnier if he showed any remorse for the journalists he disrespected in that apple chewing moment and the many others he's attacked. Oh, okay. Such as who exactly? Unless, of course, attacked now means setting the record straight, being blunt, being honest, telling the truth about a situation when the media is consistently hounding you and trying to stir up fear, drama, and rumors that aren't real. Huh. Okay. Without that, it just kind of feels like all the press and pundits cheering are saying, yeah, that was fine. This is all a game. The double standard here is just so in your face. That alone is almost very comical because Rachel Gilmore, among many others, frequently criticize, laugh at, mock, really make big deals out of things that are not actually a big deal, but then demands that conservatives never laugh back. Oh, okay. That's fascinating. Pierre makes a joke and suddenly it's warning the press about what their laughter is normalizing. The double standard here is just something. And the fake outrage. Like, yeah, Rachel, I'm sure you're laying awake at night over the fact that Pierre Poilievre was eating an apple when a reporter went in and started asking him questions, and he was presumably hungry, so he continued to eat said apple while being asked questions. I'm sure that just prevents you from sleeping because that was so outrageous and disgusting. This is really just the result of living inside of some ideological feedback loop where everything is exaggerated except for the truth. And so none of this is about Pierre Poilievre's jokes that he cracked this night. None of it is about the apple. It's all about the activist media class losing their monopoly on moral authority. That's what this really is. And they're panicking because Canadians and the very industries of whom push out their narratives are finally laughing at the things that they used to fear. They're finally laughing and acknowledging, yeah, that's stupid, but it got headlines. So
now, just to be clear, to all the CBC staff who are gathered here today, don't believe what you hear. And by the way, when I speak of CBC staff, I'm not just talking about the PMO comm shop. I'm talking about all of you. I never said I was going to shut down the CBC. I said I was going to defund it, which means that we can find some creative funding methods to keep it going. Like maybe they could move their head office to a Caribbean tax haven so that Brookfield could pay for it. The company might have some spare office space above that bicycle shop in Bermuda. Or another revenue source would be for David Cochrane to start charging for the water he carries for the Liberal Party. The third way is for me to donate royalties. And I'm announcing that I will do that today. Royalties for all those who copy me, imitate me, or steal my ideas. I think Mark Carney is here today. He wanted to have an impersonator of his own, but then he discovered that Mr. Burns is a cartoon. That means I have to look inward into what changes I have to make. And I've been told since the election that I need to gain those extra few percentage points by being more lovable and human. So naturally, I've commissioned a poll on how to do that. And the preliminary results are in. Option A, I can get a dog. Or option B, and I'm quoting the pollster here, I can find more meaningful ways to connect with people on a personal level and make emotional connections with Canadians. So I immediately called the pollster and said, what kind of dog? And grimaced my way through the rest of the evening. Let me say I can't wait to be Prime Minister so that I never have to come back to this godforsaken event. As you know, I've banned all of my MPs from coming to this event. So as soon as I find out that I was here, I will be kicking myself out of caucus.
Dump this brown powder into your coffee and become 27% harder to kill. This is Black Forest high Flavanol cocoa powder. And what's insane is a study with 21,000 people just showed that this could reduce your risk of a heart attack by 27%. Cocoa flavanols keep your arteries flexible, whereas regular chocolate, well, 90% of that gets destroyed during the processing. Harvard has actually ran this study called the Cosmos trial, which was the biggest study of cocoa ever. And one of the most watched health educators on YouTube, Dr. Eric Berg, has been talking about these benefits for years.
There's some seriously amazing benefits for the heart. Decreased blood pressure because you're getting increased nitric oxide, which actually helps the smooth muscle of the arteries. Now, the blood pressure effect can also happen due to the high levels of magnesium. It's also loaded with iron and potassium and copper and phosphorus and zinc.
That's exactly why I switched to Black Forest High Flavanol Cocoa. It's not candy, it's performance fuel. Every scoop delivers the same active compounds that Harvard researchers have linked to cardiovascular support, better blood flow, and even sharper focus. I've been putting this in my coffee every single day. It just hits differently than your regular cup. So if you're looking for an extra insurance policy to keep that blood flowing, to keep that ticker pumping, well, this is what you're looking for. And the best part is Black Forest just went live with their biggest deal of the year. Buy one, get one free across the entire store for the next 48 hours. And once it's gone, it's gone. This is one of those rare times where the science is clear, but access is limited. So if you've been thinking about trying it, act now, because once 48 hours passes, this promo is going to be gone and those prices will be going up again. Hit the link in the description or click on the pinned comment to grab this amazing deal while it lasts.
But in the meantime, on behalf of Doug Ford, let me propose a toast to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. Without you, anonymous sources would have to get a real job. So, everybody, please raise a glass to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. How's that for a change in tone? Thank you very much, everybody.
And on the topic of press in Canada, it's important to note that the CRTC has quietly taken yet another step towards regulating broadcasters into engineering culture. So we have Bill C-11, which is the Online Streaming Act, and that is now required to collect racial, gender, sexual identity, and disability data on their creative team. So that's for shows, you know, on Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO, Amazon Prime, all of that stuff. If it is visible in Canada, including the news, then the CRTC has their hands and control on it. It is really crazy to me because if Donald Trump did something like this, people would roast him so hard. Oh, they'd be so mad at him about it. They'd call him a Nazi. They'd call him a fascist, all of the names you can imagine. But Canada does it, and it's protecting our culture, protecting our Canadian content, of which we can't even define what the hell that means, because most people, if you ask them, what does it mean to be Canadian? Their answer is, we're not American. Now, the CRTC says that they're not planning to introduce more quotas like they did with the CBC when they rolled out literally this exact same formula, and that then required the CBC to have 30% of their television production teams to be diverse. It had to be spent on diverse teams, even if it sucked, even if they had zero talent. It's just like this whole DEI thing is really, it's really unhinged. It's really racist, dare I say. And let's be real here. Every single time that diversity data collection is mandated, a quota of some sort follows. We have seen this play out time and time again. It has nothing to do with good content, with merit-based hiring. It has everything to do with a freaking compliance system. And it's so bizarre to me how the CRTC, when they first were introduced as a regulatory body of the federal government, it was, you know, to help with like technical issues, like where a cell phone tower is, who gets certain radio frequencies for a local radio station, that sort of thing. And then somehow that turned into the Broadcasting Act under the CRTC, believing that their job is to manage the right cultural mix of the country instead of just letting people actually create and learn and Google things as they want. And I don't know, just out of curiosity, how much do you think the Liberal government actually respects all of the culture and diversity that we have here in this country?
Marilyn Slett did mention that you had reached out, but she says that the timeline that was offered, it's just impossible for them to get from where they are in the coast of BC to the time and place of the meeting. So,
it's called Zoom. It's called Zoom.
Well,
you know, it's a wonderful. I think that's what we're using, David.
I understand, but I'm also not a coastal First Nation chief, and I don't know if they would want to be met with in person and face to face. You know, if they are going to have a bitumen pipeline, right?
I am happy to go visit any. I will happily make the trip.
You can certainly tell a lot about a person, their true character, their true intent, based on the individuals of whom they surround themselves with. And Mark Carney has quite the questionable bunch. Actually, Energy Minister Tim Hodgson apologized after suggesting that coastal First Nations could meet by Zoom over their pipeline concerns. In a statement, Coastal First Nations President Marilyn Slett, who is also elected chief, called the minister's comments deeply disrespectful, saying they show a complete lack of understanding of our communities.
As you know, I support a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. I know we might have a bit of a difference of opinion on that, but I hope people today feel a lot more confident that Canada works than they did a couple of days ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So we're talking about booze. Yeah. I know. We heard the meeting people were like, wow. And we know this group is pretty against the idea of working with Canada, but that shows you how much.
On social media, a lot of people took that clip of Danielle Smith saying Danielle Smith got booed. It definitely did not appear that way, though. People were booing at the whole idea that the Liberal government is magically going to actually do a good job.
The government is supporting these industries enough in light of the fact that talks remain frozen for now.
Well, there was a lot of pressure to deliver something on softwood for the industry because they had kind of been left out of the conversation, and they were being drilled in the House about it. So I think that they're responding to that. They feel that they need to do that, and also there's obviously no advancements, deep freeze as the negotiations might be, even though the President and the Prime Minister are texting each other. Can I just make a link back to our previous conversation?
Please,
because
yeah.
I think that what this agreement shows should have us all a little concerned that if this is the way Ottawa is negotiating with the province of Alberta, what is Ottawa willing to give to Washington? That, to me, is like the parallel between these two, because there were a lot of rumors in the fall about supply management being on the chopping block, cultural industries being on the chopping block. We've talked about this before, but maybe it was a good thing that the negotiations were put on hold, because I'm not sure the Carney government is as great negotiators as probably they would like us to think.
What do you think of that, Andrew?
Well, they have different priorities and different things they'd like to protect. I, for one, would cheer if we gave up supply management.
I mean, to be frank, if you want to just take a look at the election strategy, the Liberal government, by all accounts, would absolutely not want for there to be a deal with Donald Trump, because that is the number one thing that they have, right? Unfortunately, though, as time goes on, people start to realize, oh, wait, you were really disingenuous, you were misleading, you lied to us by, omitting the fact that Canada always from the get-go had the best trade deal thanks to the USMCA, which was signed not by Mark Carney. They completely omitted details like that upwards of 85% of our trade, depending on the year, is completely tariff-free and remains so. They omitted those details and then proudly said, we have the best deal ever because I'm Prime Minister. No, you just omitted the truth. That's what happened. And too many Canadians did not do their research. And there really is just Canada is a country in which we just don't actually have good leadership, period.
Using our constitutionally protected provincial rights, Alberta will return to a more stable number of primarily economic migrants so that newcomers come here to work and contribute as they have historically done, while Canadian citizens living in Alberta are given first priority to the jobs and the opportunities our economy creates. We will restore the proper balance and ensure that our immigration system becomes a strength to our province again.
I would say that the thing that makes me the most frustrated about the Liberal federal government, and perhaps Conservatives will have me feeling this way too whenever they get elected. I don't know. We will stay tuned for that. But so many hours and so much money and mental brain drain has been wasted on these ideological and identity politic nonsense. Like that's what it is. Does it help us as a country? No. Did it help us with our economy? No. What's your job as a federal government? It's not to brainwash me into believing what you believe in. It's to govern the country in a prosperous direction, which you aren't doing. So now you have this massive disconnect between multiple provinces and the federal Liberals, because they are not doing what they single-handedly were supposed to be responsible for, which is to make our lives better, right?
I'm announcing today that next week, our UCP government will be introducing a new motion under the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act
that will, if passed in the legislature, instruct all provincial entities, including our municipalities and law enforcement agencies, to refuse to enforce or prosecute under the federal gun seizure program. Now, the Sovereignty Act motion will also make it clear that these agencies will not enforce or prosecute Albertans defending their homes and families from intruders. I got a little tip for low-life criminals out there. If you don't want to get shot, don't break into someone's house. It's really that simple, isn't it?
By definition, the federal government's responsibilities include maintaining and securing our borders. How's that going? What about our military? How's that going? As well as our foreign affairs and the national money situation. That's what they're supposed to do. They're also in charge of writing criminal law, making sure that the criminal code makes sense and works. How is that going? To the point that you now have premiers having to introduce sovereignty within Canada acts because they are failing and not prioritizing the things that they are solely responsible for at all.
Those who had opposed us, including the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his governing partner, the former federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, along with so many others who sought Alberta's economic demise, they've seen their political careers come to an abrupt and dramatic end. Including, I would add, former Trudeau Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault. He, of course, resigned from cabinet on Thursday after the announcement of the new energy deal that repealed several of the anti-Alberta laws that he created. On behalf of all Albertans, Monsieur Guilbeault, we bid you adieu.
According to CBC and CTV News, by the way, the Carney government is going to be doing a big cabinet shuffle very soon. So I will keep you up to date on that, especially now that Stephen Guilbeault is gone. There will obviously be some major portfolios trading hands in the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. But I did want to end this by saying that there is nothing to me that is a greater signal of the pure failure of management and bad policy than when Mark Carney says things like this.
We'll build sustainably, but above all, we will build by buying Canadian. We will be our own best customer.
Which is translation for we're not going to change any of the policies that have made us so uncompetitive in the first place. Rather, we're going to increase the cost because we aren't competitive on everything that we do from here on out. Because if buying Canadian was competitive and it made the most sense and it was cost effective, we would have already been doing that. So, if when things feel really dysfunctional, it's because they are. It's because the federal government is way too involved in things that they shouldn't be. And it's because their policies have really, really hurt us. The damage of which, as I said, you can tell across every single data set. And that is only going to get worse, which is exactly why I personally am rooting for a spring election. I'm Jasmine Lane. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share, like, comment your thoughts down below. And of course, follow this channel and on other social media platforms as well. And I will talk to you tomorrow.